Okay, I have not been updating on YouTube. I've been doing updates all this time on TikTok and not transferring them all to YouTube. But here's the latest, and then I'll kind of go back over some backstory. In case you don't know, most people already know about the Brian and the Gabby situation. But as of right now, they think that they have Brian in a white car that is registered to his grandfather up in the Appalachian Trail. Makes complete sense to me that that's where he would be. Okay, in addition to that, it was confirmed yesterday that when he returned on September 1st, you may remember from the neighbors, they said that they saw him mowing, they saw him riding a bike. You know, he is doing all this normal stuff to kind of, make it look like, oh, everything's cool and kosher, I'm just, doing my normal thing. I just got back from possibly murdering someone. Then his family buys a camper and they go camping for a few days at a park in Florida that's about 75 miles away. They go back after that, back home. They go again. And from what I understand and what I've heard, the park person says 3 people drove into the park to go camping. 2 people came out. So he's been gone for a long time, much longer than when they said that he was missing on that Wednesday, or they called that Friday and said that he had been missing since Wednesday. They're all part of this, and they should be charged with aiding and abetting and possibly hiding evidence. So yeah, so we're kind of going backwards here because I have not been updating. So the Moab murders, the 2 women that were murdered the night of or the next day of the domestic violence incident with Brian and Gabby, they were shot. Okay, we do know that. They have not released the method of homicide for Gabby, but we do know these 2 women were shot. And they had reported that a creepy guy was going around their camp area, so they were going to move. They were going to move to a different location. Well, the investigators and the family, when they went back, actually the investigators aren't doing a whole lot on this case right now, so we've been kind of pushing it. But the family went and saw that next to their camp where the women were when they were murdered, and then they were dragged down to that creek, there was a pile of Gatorade plastic bottles. If you don't know this case, Brian is an environmentalist and loathes plastic bottles. And so I could completely see him picking up plastic bottles, putting them in a little pile, thinking that those women made that little pile or made all that mess, and killing them because he hates plastic bottles that much. Did Gabby see him, or did she find out that something happened during all of this? I don't know. She could have just been killed because of the domestic violence part of their relationship. It was very toxic and very volatile, so that could have been it. Or somehow she knew what had happened. There was a wedding party going on just right next to where they were camping, and the people have not been interviewed from that wedding. Everyone should be interviewed. Everyone should be, asked to submit DNA voluntarily if they will, or, blood, whatever they need to do to see if anyone matches who murdered the 2 women. Okay, so let's keep going back. Of course, Gabby was found right in that area too, by the creek. It all kind of comes together. And we don't know her method of homicide. I'm wondering if they're not releasing that because it's a gunshot wound. If it's a gunshot wound, they wouldn't be releasing that because it does tie into these other women. And we have all said, that cannot be a coincidence. However, I've been finding that people go missing at the national parks all the time. What's going on there? Do they fall off? Do bears get them? I don't know. It's quite frightening as to how many people vanish and National Park. So that's a whole nother story. So, of course, Gabby's family, has been so upset because Brian and his family would not answer any questions as to why Gabby did not return home. We now know she was dead out in, Wyoming, laying there by herself. And she has been recovered, and they had the funeral for her just yesterday, I believe. So, yeah, so that's kind of where we're at. It's very possible that Brian has been located. I don't know that he's been arrested or anything like that, but they think that he's been located in a certain area. And if he knows that, well, then he'll ditch the car and go do something else. So, yeah, that's the latest.